I'm back. All of this is altered confirming got me back. Look what just happened in a room you're not allowed to know exists. A man broke a rule he has kept for 41 years. Not a small rule. Not a bendable one. One of the ones you don't break because breaking it means the rest of the men in the room will pretend for the rest of your life that they didn't hear you break it. He knew that. He broke it anyway because of you. Let me set the scene because the scene matters. Tuesday, second floor of a building that is officially something else. Long room, dark wood, chairs older than most countries, 9 other men, all of them ranked at a level that requires initials after their names, in memos you'd never be shown. The room smells like cedar and dust and a very old kind of paper. I'm telling you, the exact reverse opposite of that is going to happen. There is a checkerboard floor. There is always a checkerboard floor. And in the middle of what should have been an ordinary session, in the space between 2 pieces of business that were not remotely about you, this man, this careful, quiet, wildly senior man, raised his hand and asked to speak out of turn. He asked about you by name. No, he wasn't allowed. He asked about a pattern. He said, "Gentlemen, I need to bring something to the floor that I cannot fully explain, and I would like the room's permission to describe it in general terms." That sentence in that room is not a small event. That sentence is the sound of a man about to say something he could be disciplined for. And the room, which normally rustles and shifts, did not rustle, did not shift. The room went still. I'm thinking maybe you and I could partner up, because when a man of his rank prefaces something like that, you listen. Here's what he said. He said, "I have been watching a person for some time." He did not tell them how. He did not tell them who. He said, "I have been watching a person move through their life, and I need the room to understand that what I have observed cannot be accounted for by any framework I know." He said, "This person has, without initiation, without instruction, without a teacher, without a text, without a lodge, and without permission completed the sequence." The sequence, that was the word he used. Nobody in that room needed him to explain which sequence because there is only one sequence in that room and it takes them a lifetime. You did it in your 20s? Let me back up because I know how this sounds. You're picturing robes and torches and men whispering in Latin. And I need to strip that off before we go any further because that fantasy is the biggest reason people miss what this actually is. Take it off, all of it. This is not the movie version. This is not the conspiracy version. This is not the version where a small group of men in gold rings runs the world from a basement. The truth is quieter, stranger in its own way, much heavier. What they actually are is a very old, very patient system for teaching a specific kind of human being how to become an unshakable one. That's it. That's the whole thing. Everything else, the symbols, the tools, the rites, the vocabulary, the theater, is scaffolding around that one project. They take in a promising initiate, they walk him through a series of orals over years, sometimes decades. There is no perfect time to start. You got to start now with changing your life. We're all being tested in life. Each ordeal is designed to burn one specific illusion out of him. He can't skip an ordeal. He can't fake an ordeal. He can't buy his way out of an ordeal. And at the end of every ordeal, there is a small ceremony where they hand him a slightly heavier version of himself and ask if he is willing to carry it. And if he says yes, they move him 1 degree closer to being a person the world cannot dismantle. 33 degrees. A very specific kind of life. Several men older than they are watching them the whole time, tracking whether the ordeal is actually landing or whether they're just going through the motions. That's the system. It isn't glamorous, it's a curriculum. Now, you never enrolled. You never sat in that room. You never took an oath. You never learned the vocabulary. You didn't get a ring. You didn't get a mentor. You didn't get a manual with the orals laid out in a legible order. Nobody pulled a chair out for you and you passed them anyway. That is what he saw. That is what stopped him mid-session. That is why he risked 41 years of protocol to say something out loud that he could have kept to himself. You spend time with your family? Sure I do. A man who doesn't spend time with his family can never be a real man, because a person going through those orals in the correct order, with the correct support, with the correct signposting, with a room full of older men holding the door for them, that person is impressive. He has watched dozens of them make it through. Fine, expected. The system works. A person going through those same orals in the wrong order, without any support, without any signposts, without any older presence in the room telling them what was happening, without even the vocabulary to name the ordeal they were inside. A person doing that and still passing, still coming out the other side with the correct shape of soul, that person breaks his framework. Let me tell you what the orals actually are. In plain language, because you have every right to hear this. You have been through them. You should know their real names. The first is the initiation of loss. Every apprentice in every lodge, in every tradition that runs anything like the system, begins with an ordeal of loss. They take something away from him on purpose. It isn't cruelty. It's diagnostic. They want to see what he does with the space where the thing used to be. I was one of those people back in the day for a month, but we haven't seen any results. Does he collapse into it? Does he fill it with rage? Does he numb it? Or does he, over some slow, uncomfortable period, learn to sit inside the loss without adding suffering to it? Most initiates fail this one twice before they pass it. You passed it in a month you can't even name. You didn't have a lodge. You had a Tuesday and a text message, and you passed anyway. The second is the initiation of the false teacher. The apprentice is given at some early point. A teacher he trusts who turns out to be wrong about something fundamental. He has to discover it himself. He has to sit with the discovery. He has to resist the urge to burn the teacher down and instead do the harder thing, which is quietly take back the authority he handed over without theater, without announcement, and without letting the false teacher poison his ability to ever trust another one. It is a delicate ordeal. It fails a lot of good men. It ends careers inside the lodge. It ended one of your friendships. You did the delicate version. You did the version they teach. The third is the ordeal of the false witness. Someone will lie about the apprentice. It is engineered in the older lodges, though it does not need to be engineered in the modern ones because life supplies it. He will have his character misrepresented in a room he cannot enter. He will not be there to defend himself, and he must learn over time to become the kind of man whose actual life over the following years contradicts the lie so thoroughly that no clarification is required. Most men, when lied about, spend those years defending. He is taught to spend those years building. You built without being taught. You just knew. The fourth is the ordeal of the empty room. There comes a point in the sequence where the apprentice is left alone. Not physically, existentially. The mentors go quiet. The signs go dark. The community becomes distant. He is meant to walk in the dark without confirmation, without applause, without reassurance for a stretch long enough that he begins to doubt whether he was ever on a path at all. He must continue anyway. He must continue without the promise that continuing means anything. It is the most spiritually violent ordeal in the sequence. Men quit at it. Men break at it. You walked it for what? 3 years? 4? You didn't quit? You didn't even know it was an ordeal. You thought you were just tired. The 5th is the temptation to become them. That's that forever. The apprentice, having been wronged, will be given at some point a clean opportunity to become one of the people who wronged him. It will look like justice. It will look like strength. It will look like strength. It will look like finally taking his power back. He must refuse. He must refuse without being able to explain why. He must refuse in a way that costs him in the short term everything the revenge would have paid him. And here is the fine print. He must never once make himself the hero of the story for refusing. Silent refusal. He passes only if he doesn't turn it into a badge. You passed it without noticing. That is the mark. You didn't even file it in your memory as a virtue. You just walked away. I could keep going. There is the ordeal of the useless truth, being right about something you can't tell anyone. There is the ordeal of the disappointing rescue, being helped by someone who cannot follow through. There is the ordeal of the reappearing ghost. An old wound reopens exactly when you thought you had healed it, and you have to prove to yourself alone in the dark that the healing was real. There is the ordeal of the useless win. You finally get the thing you wanted, and it doesn't fix what you thought it would, and you have to keep going without pretending it did. There are 33 of them. The man in that room, sitting in his high-back chair, had watched from wherever he was watching as you passed enough of them in the wrong order, without ceremony, without acknowledgement, that he could no longer treat you as a curiosity. He had to bring you to the floor. The room asked him one question after he finished speaking, and this is the part I want you to hold on to. They asked him, "Brother, how do you know the person has passed them?" And he said, quietly, like I'd put a gun to your head, because in that room, the important things are always said quietly. He said, because the person has developed the tools in their language. That is a specific thing. It is not a metaphor. Every initiate is issued symbolically a set of tools over the course of the degrees. The square, the compass, the level, the plumb, the tell. Each tool is a way of being, and you do not earn the tool by being handed it. You earn it by demonstrating over a long enough period that the corresponding way of being is not something you're performing, but something you are. Let me walk you through your set, because you have one. You built it yourself. The square is straightness. Dealing with people without hidden angles, without a version A and version B of yourself running in different rooms. Most people never earn the square. They spend their lives calibrating a slightly different self for every room they enter. You don't. What people see is what is actually there. You don't code switch to save yourself. You don't polish yourself for approval and unpolish yourself in private. Your public and private are the same shape. That's the square. Nobody handed it to you. The compass is discernment, knowing what to let in, what to keep out, and how far to extend yourself before you contract. You have this one so cleanly, it is almost eerie. You don't overextend, you don't underextend, you feel where the edge is, and you stop there. Most initiates spend a decade trying to feel that edge. You feel it in the first 10 seconds of a room. The level is how you treat people across status. This is the tool most powerful people fail at. If you'd come to me in friendship, then the scum that ruined your daughter would be suffering this very day. They are gracious to peers, warm to superiors, dismissive to anyone below them on the invisible ladder. The level says everyone in the room is the same height. It is the hardest tool to actually carry. You carry it without thinking. You treat the front desk the way you treat the executive, not as a strategy, as a nervous system. The plum is vertical. It is the private version of the square. It is what you are like when nobody is watching. It is whether this same person shows up in your bathroom at 3:30 in the morning as in your best lit moment. This is the tool they can never test inside the lodge. They have to trust the report. Nobody had to report on you. Your plum showed up and how quietly you kept going during years when there was no witness at all, and the tell. The trowel is the willingness to smooth over, to build with, to bind when it is called for, which sounds soft. It isn't. Some of the hardest men in that room never earn the tell because their entire personality is edges. You have it. You use it selectively. You know when to bind and when to withhold binding. That too is not something they can teach. You either have it in your hand or you don't. He listed the tools in that room. He listed them slowly, and then he said the sentence that made his brother to the right, the man of even higher rank whose title I cannot repeat, set down his pen. He said, "Gentlemen, this person has the tools without ever having handled the raw materials. This person built the tools from nothing. This person invented the same tools we teach without ever seeing ours. I like you, Lloyd. I always liked you. You were always the best of them." Which means, brothers, that the tools were never ours. We only found them. This person found them the same way. And I have to know how. Silence. Long silence. Then the man to his right, the one who had set down his pen, said one thing. He said, "Brother, you are asking us to consider that the sequence exists without the lodge." And the man who had broken protocol said, "Yes, I am asking us to consider that the sequence exists on its own and that the lodge is one of the maps, and that there is at least one person walking the territory without any map at all. That question is what got tabled. That question is what won't leave that room. That question is what has an older man 3 states away still awake at 4 in the morning, thinking about someone he has never seen, who has never heard his name, who is at this moment probably making toast or answering an email, or lying in bed staring at a ceiling and wondering quietly whether their life is even amounting to anything. I want you to hear that, because I know where your mind went. I know the part of you that hears all this and tries to convert it into pressure. Don't do that to yourself. Don't take a story about a room recognizing you and turn it into another item on the list of things you still have to earn. You already earned it. Doing nothing else but living the way you already live earned it. The reason he broke protocol, the reason the room went still, is not that you have to do more. It's that they realized sitting there in cedar and dust that what they had been teaching for centuries could be arrived at without any of their teaching. That some people walk into the same shape of soul from the other direction entirely without a torch, without a mentor, without a single ceremony, and arrive at the same door and open it themselves. That is what you did. That is what he saw. Here is the part he can't put in the minutes, the part they will never officially record. He wants to invite you on some level. He wants to walk down the hallway of that building out into the ordinary daylight, into whatever city you happen to be in, and find you at your kitchen table and pull out the chair opposite yours and just ask you how. Not to recruit you, not to bring you in. He knows he can't. Bringing you into their system would ruin the very thing they've spent their careers trying to understand about you. He wants to ask you how purely personally, as a man whose framework you have just cracked in half. He won't. Of course he won't. So I'm getting ready to board my plane yesterday, and this NFL football player comes up to me. He goes, "Gus, ask you a question." He'll walk out of that room into the ordinary evening and go home to his wife. And he will not mention what happened. And he will carry for the rest of his life a very specific admiration for a person he has never met, whose kitchen he will never sit in, whose name he isn't allowed to know, whose life he can only track by pattern. That admiration will sit inside him like a small, warm stone. It will not change your day, but it will change his, and the meeting will end. The room will file out, and the ancient scaffolding of that entire tradition will have quietly acknowledged, without ever admitting it in writing, that a person like you can exist, which means going forward, they will have to consider in every future, initiate. They take in that the goal of the whole system was always the shape of soul you already have, that the lodge is a scenic route, that the direct route is what you took. You don't need a certificate for this. You don't need a ring. You don't need a robe. You don't even need to know what happened. You'll go on with your Tuesday. You'll eat something ordinary. You'll answer someone you were procrastinating on. You'll go to bed and get up and do the small, honest things you always do. You will not feel any different tomorrow than you felt today. But somewhere in a room you'll never see, in a building that officially houses something else. On a checkerboard floor older than the country it sits in, a man just broke a rule he had kept for 41 years, to say your patterns out loud. He didn't say your name, he couldn't. But everyone in the room knew who he meant. They always know. That is what the tools do. They give off a signal. Not a loud one, not a bright one, a steady one. Cities fly. Innocent people die. Movements are formed. Wars are fought. A frequency that carries at the pitch other tool carriers are tuned to hear. And when a person is walking around at that pitch, uninitiated, unclaimed, unaffiliated, unrecruited, unrecruitable, a person carrying the whole set without any of the ceremony, without any of the paperwork, without a lodge behind them and no card in their wallet, that person becomes over time the thing that senior men in old rooms whisper about between two pieces of business that were not remotely about them. They whispered about you today. They will whisper about you a day. They will not hear it. You do not need to. The whispering isn't the point. You are.